Welcome to episode 16 of Tech with Briley. Today we'll be working with the Western Friend website. Let me hop over here real quick. We're improving our test coverage. We're still at 74%. Earlier today I had a session where we wrote some successful unit tests for a wagtail page that essentially combines a model, admin UI, and a view all into one entity. This is how the wagtail CMS works. We are trying to test the context. There's a method in the model, which is essentially mirroring, I guess, what a Django class-based view would provide. We have this getContext method, and its sole purpose is to modify the view context and then serve a response, which in essence is the next step, which wraps a template and some context. This is all part of our subscription index page, again extending from the wagtail page model. Wagtail unifies the Django content model, view, URL mapping, and admin interface definition all into one entity. Is really interesting with these content panels and such. Without getting too much more into the internals of how Wagtail works, let's see if we can figure out how to improve our tests here of this getContext. In the previous session, I was working with Copilot and with fairly good results for a particular case where our getContext is creating a fresh form instance, as well as another context variable. I just wanted to make sure that the form is part of the template context, as well as this subscription price components, because both of those are used in the template. However, in our getContext method, there's a conditional check, and according to GPT or GitHub Copilot, among others, it's good to have test coverage of all the code paths through a particular function. So right now I don't have any specific code path covered aside from checking that this subscription create form does exist in the context, whether or not it came through this code path. And so we're trying to write a test to make sure my code is working. Firstly, the code could have bugs. And improving the code coverage, I think this should now be covered, but not all the cases that are contained herein. So let me just get rid of that little yellow squiggle there. It's a bit annoying. So GitHub Copilot came up a bit short. Let's go ahead and try this same approach with ChatGPT. Here's how it works. I give ChatGPT the necessary context. I think for the purposes of this test, it only needs this method, getContext, which is the Django context, but the chat gets more context in general about what I'm trying to achieve. So given this function, and give the subscription create form definitions just so it has that. And we'll tell it the goal of the unit test suite. my exercise. So yeah, essentially that if there's already a form in the context dictionary, it'll be preserved and I'll be able to assert that. Let's see what the ChatGPT does with this prompt. You can use Django's test case along with the client. Okay, to simulate a request. I believe we might have done that. Here we mocked the request. In the second attempt, we used a request factory. Those tests were written with Copilot. The problem with this approach, that didn't give ChatGPT enough context. It's treating it like a regular view, which is literally what I asked for. But that requires a little bit more setup than is implied here. I would have to create wagtail page tree. So let me actually specify this a bit better. The get context method is part of a page instance, which inherits from wagtail page class. So it is not a view in the conventional sense. Now let's just put the get context back in one more time. Just with that information, let's see if it adjusts the response before prompting it anymore. Wagtail page model, not a traditional Django view. This information changes things a bit. We can use wagtail's page.dummy request. Wow, interesting. To generate a request object and then call get context on the page object. Here's an updated example. Well, now this is something new for me. Okay. And so it knows we need to set up the wagtail page tree, so that's cool. And here we can adapt this. Actually, probably don't need to, but I can reuse this. Or maybe it supersedes the test where I'm checking also subscription price component. I want to make sure that's in there. Invalid form data. Interesting. So then it actually checks the validity. Assert true. Given this comment, though, this should be assert false, I think. It's a bit strange. So right now, this is sort of an emerging pattern where I kind of take away the essence of you know, what can I learn from this response? Sometimes the response is just exactly what, it'll just work. You know, I'm learning about this new dummy test thing, so let's see. This is the one that doesn't work. I'm just going to delete it. It's still in my chat history with Copilot, but now we have a different way of creating dummy request. Let's see what is Copilot, suggesting for this. Tear down. Okay. Let's just commit the teardown. It's good. I think we can agree to those. And for just my own sake, I always manually stage things. So I avoid the habit of like commit or stage all commit. Yes, now we've got our setup and teardown. Let's create the page hierarchy. It would be nice if I could just test the subscription. Page, but I understand. It needs to exist in the page tree. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and import our home page. It's TUV. That's the only thing the model needs. If we look here, subscription index page can be created underneath the home page. Oh, wait, Wagtail models. Wagtail was re-architected recently, so. Yes, there we go. Now we're good. Let's hop down here. Ignore that. Our setup function still needs, let's be more specific here. And Pythonic. This won't work directly, so what we need to do is actually bring that here. And again, this was omitted from the context, so ChatGPT couldn't really help me with this. we're constructing the hierarchy by creating temporary instance and then using this add child method. And the home page has an add child method, self, homepage, add child, subscription index page. Then we're good to go. And in our cleanup, let's see if, we don't need to generate the slug. Let's also destroy those. So the user, subscription index page, yeah. Then the home page, then the site root. This is interesting, the site. Okay, we can delete that. This should be running a transaction and perhaps automatically would delete those. Subscription page, home page. But we will do that explicitly. I guess the user factory doesn't have a delete method. I don't know. Okay, so now this is more or less kind of a duplicating this test. So I can replace it if this passes. I can delete this other one and just add the check for the subscription price components. Ah, yeah. So I changed the subscription index page. Huh. Highlight is having troubles, but Wagtail is not typed. So here we go. What we'll do is we'll just run this subscription. And this particular method. I forgot to reset DB. Or keep DB. Error. Okay. Yeah, so it could have hallucinated this. Let's see if it picks up that I renamed it. I apologize for the confusion. The dummy request method actually belongs to the page model itself, not to the individual page instance. You should create a dummy request via the page model. Okay, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, for that, I mean, why not just use request factory? What's the difference? Pros and cons of each approach. I don't know. So this is a learning moment. Django's request factory can also be used to create a request object for testing. It offers a bit more flexibility than Wagtail's page.dummy request, as it allows you to simulate different types of requests, get, post, etc. Which we need basically to post to this. And add a session data. We don't need the session data in this one. Cookies or other metadata to the request. It also doesn't require you to have a Wagtail page instance to create the request, which is nice. It's helpful in testing some situations, scenarios, like we wouldn't need this whole site tree just to test subscription index page. However, you could also set up this context manually if you're using request factory. It's just a bit more work. Oh wait. On the other hand, page dummy request is more specific to Wagtail, and it sets up some additional context that might be expected by Wagtail pages, like the site and page object, which might not be set up by Request Factory. Therefore, if you're testing a Wagtail page, it might be more convenient to use page dummy request. It makes sense. We will need to create a post. I believe we'll have to test that. We're doing form handling and their default's to get requests, so it won't be able to directly handle a post request scenario. However, you can manually modify the generated request object to stimulate a post request. Here's an example. Yeah, so that's how we could actually, and it knows that we're trying to post a form. Let's go with the Wagtail dummy request method. Page and site. Going all the way down. Let's run that again. Did I forget to... Yeah, it looks like it no longer has a dummy request method. No problem. Let's just run over here. Either one is fine. Just so we're on the same page with GPT without having to like tell it what I'm doing here. All right. Without wasting a prompt, I only get 25 of those every 3 hours. Let's run it. pass it. And we'll test this one out. Yeah. So that's a specific test. It's a long test name, I know. Good. Single purpose. Let's just run the whole test suite real quick. Keep DB. And I think there's some errors in this test. We will run it. Particularly this line, I think is not correct. We'll modify it. I'll commit these changes if everything passes. Oh, I didn't save though. Run that one more time. I'm gonna run that and grab a little bit of water while it's running. So saved, run, and get a refill of my water. All right, everything's good. Let's commit this. No need. Alright, some stylistic issues. Probably a line too long, but it did make some modifications. Let's see what happens. Good to go. I'm not going to push these yet. I don't want this yet to necessarily have to run at this point. We'll add this, the essence, and I'll make some changes. Change that. Oh, actually, we'll leave that comment there, and then we'll see if Copilot can fill in some more of these details for me. But wait just a moment while I was thinking about it. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I guess not. Ah. key request. So that's one place it may fail also. We'll save that and run. Why do all these appear sometimes and then disappear other times? Let me just close that and reopen it. And this should fail. So pretty good overall. Comments are longer than the code. We'll ignore this. We'll run the full test suite one more time for this particular page. I'll go ahead and push these up. I have a pull request that's open. Should have that, yeah. Okay, we got some changes here on cart.py. I'm gonna mark this as draft to remind myself. Still working on it. Where's that? Convert to draft. Whew, still defined. Push these changes up. So we're going to go from 0.18% or 0.18, I don't know, improvement. Our subscription models gets 5%, almost 6% improvement. Let's see where we're at on this commit. Oh, whatever. Now we will write tests for the serve function. Well, let's go ahead and give GPT more context this time. And I hate this magic mouse. It's just so bad. So bad. There's a little bit better way to reorganize this view. Anyway, just want to write these tests. Let it have the test suite and the setup. I want to improve the coverage for the whole serve function. In particular, there's some branching code paths. We've got setup, they're creating a user, creating a page structure and a factory, we got that. Test serve post request, there we go. Authenticated valid form with some correct post data. Alright, so for that, let's just go full screen. Well, it looks like we're gonna get some help from Copilot. Although I'd like to open the form and kind of put it in the same order as the form. Magazine format, price group, individual, I guess. No. Normal. Yeah, there we go. Recurring, sure. Should default. Subscriber given name, subscriber family name, street address, Portland, Oregon, huh? Double check that. Oh, nope, right there it is anyway. But I was looking at the wrong test. Sweet. Self-user. Alright, and then we're replicating the Wagtail site. Okay, that's interesting. Good detail. Alright, let's come back over here. Though I've copied and pasted. But expecting a 302 redirect to the payment. Oh, wait. Hey Gungo Pews, welcome to the channel. The audio might have died. Okay, audio's back. Good. It's sometimes glitchy, I don't know. Oh, hey, no reverse match for subscription index page. Okay. This is a problem. Yeah, it's not picking up. Yeah. So what we need to do is get the page for the subscription index page, right? That might just work. I don't know. And this introduces a problem with now we're going to have a subscription instance floating. With this whole approach, requires not only the page index, I wish I could just test the page instance itself with the request and response. Isolated. We'll delete the user last. Delete all the subscription objects. Try this one more time. All right. Prime Gaming and moderator, Gungo Pews. Interesting. All right, so how's the stream quality now? Is it audio coming through? Oops, I've read it. Video. I've also been adjusting the font sizes, so hopefully the font is legible. I'm on a fairly big monitor here, and I don't think I can make the font scale to a mobile screen, but perhaps like on tablet or medium screens, it should be legible. That's my goal. Now, I believe for the request, I can just post to an arbitrary endpoint, but this I see as important to if I post to the page URL, then it should go through the whole workflow. However, I could just like stub out in a way the serve method and just call this, invoke the serve function directly on the page instance. So if I just say, you know, subscription index page instance dot serve, passing in an arbitrary HTTP request with the form, it would have to be a post request. Yeah. Very cool. What kind of projects are you working on? Any open source work? I like to check out. Hey, it worked. Okay, good, good. Now, with those tests in mind, we can test the invalid form. Ah, yeah, and this is interesting. The method I used here was what I just described. It threw the request into the index page directly. Oh, I did it here, I'm sorry. Anyway, okay. So we create a mock request. Let's call this mock request. Just to make it clear. There we go. Sounds good to me. And it's really the exact same thing, except 200 and the is false. Hey, but it's got the assertions correct. Nice. All right, so what am I going to copy? How am I going to do this? Essentially, copy the name. Save myself a few keystrokes. Fortunately, no open source work. My time is largely taken up by my job, and all that good stuff is closed up. Yeah, I understand that. My day job, we're mostly working on proprietary stuff. Occasionally, we'll open like a pull request on an open source library or something we're using. There's a bit of that. All right, so this one looks like Copilot's going to give me some help here. But this one, we want to have invalid form data. And maybe I can give myself a little helpful hint here. I could even share this. I believe I could share this across tests, but okay, whatever. So, using the walrus operator, not quite. Not quite what I was intending. And for that, it's just going to be, you know, like a partial submission or something. Is invalid. All right, so now we're going to continue. I don't think I need the site part, perhaps, though I do. Get the mock request and response back. And then our assertions. Let's see what Copilot suggests for the assertions. So we got that wrong. Let me borrow from GPT-4 a little bit of a prompt. GPT-4 prompt engineering. Ooh, Copilot. Assert false, response context data form is valid. That's good. And I think the instance, well, it doesn't hurt to check the instance. And the status code. I think all of those are valid checks in that order. All right. The red squiggles now. I'm just going to have to ignore those. I'd like to not ignore those because then I could be masking some issues with my code inadvertently. Yeah, at a couple of previous jobs, I've been fortunate enough to work on fully open source projects or start smaller open source libraries. Like I did a carbon CO2 calculator for multimodal transportation. That was pretty interesting. So yeah, it's like kind of make those opportunities happen if possible, you know, just to be alert, see how your company is benefiting from open source, and see if, you know, your manager is amenable to a little side work, open source wise. That was my strategy. I mean, always being on point. All right, so I think we're good to go here. So the authenticated bit's not so salient to the test, perhaps? Perhaps. Maybe it is. If I try to submit this form with an unauthenticated or an anonymous user, what happens? What should happen? Well, you shouldn't be able to subscribe because the subscription is linked to a user account, so you really should be... What should happen? Let's see what happens if that happens. Wow. So first we just check if it's a post. I found a blind spot in the code. Where do we get user from here? Request.user. See, this is where the type ignoring is actually harmful, because there is a case where the request user is none. And honestly, it is it's a base user. Base user. 1, 2, Roger, over. Sockets. Base user, complete guess. Where the heck does base user come in? Where does my user inherit? I've found using ChatGPT. Overall, it's pretty useful. I've found a lot of ways that it's helped me out. It's without sounding too sort of swept away or whatever. I think the combination of GPT-4 and Copilot have really changed the way I write code, the confidence that I have in my code, the ability to understand really specific parts, not only my code, but the frameworks I'm working in, Django and Wagtail CMS, have been really illuminating. So my velocity is also increased as a result. I'm able to understand more. I'm able to auto-generate code, especially if I've already written similar patterns. Luckily, I'm able to use that in my day job. It's encouraged by the company to work with Copilot on our internal tools, so that's good, our internal projects. Certainly in my open source work, I'm using it all the time. Is it perfect? No, of course not. I'm not perfect, and I wouldn't expect anything that humans create to be perfect. It's like having a really smart companion who hallucinates just like any good human does. We come up with random stuff as well, and so in a way you have to just be sanity checking and always peer reviewing the code, which is already part of most human collaborative processes. Overall, though, I would say the experience has been really positive, and I'm leaning pretty heavily into transformative to the way I work. And I really hope we don't nerf these tools out of, I understand some of the societal, the existential fears that we're facing generally as being sentient and sapient beings. We're faced with some existential fears. I'm, keeping abreast of discussions and developments around jobs and job security and equity and privacy. Can we have a uniform playing field, a level playing field, or are we just creating another elite tier of society who have access to tools and furthering the digital and other divides? Are we going to have a plethora of disinformation and misinformation and hate speech and other rhetoric that's going to further divide society? I'm very concerned and staying abreast with those developments and discussions. How are creators going to get paid, and to what extent is a model generated output a derivative work of a creative input, in the same sense as if I learn some knowledge by reading a book, how, to what extent is my output from that knowledge a derivative work? And I think there's some precedents we have for those particular questions, such as fair use, and which covers things like the extensiveness and likeness of the generated output. We can compare those. Is it generating the exact output? Also, we have heuristics for how common is this? Is this a factual function? Is this a simple, well-known mathematical formula, or is this some kind of bespoke code that was written in a framework, or an image captured by a person? So all these things are spinning around in my mind. So it's not such a simple, pointed question, but in my day work, it's really good and very useful tool. And I'm glad to contribute my open source code to further training the model, because I've gotten a lot of value out of it. What's been your kind of experience and thoughts around there? I'm definitely, as you can tell, pretty concerned and intrigued by how these technologies are developing and how much they will be aligned with human and societal goals. But I don't think of them as distinct from, they're deeply intertwined with human fallibility and all these other qualities that predate the models, biases and hallucinations and things like that. They're just another, perhaps, evolution of those pre-existing problems that we have in a large sense. So I don't need to get this little squiggly line to go away, but it would be nice if I could have some. Nonetheless, user may or may not exist. That's the point. If it's a post request, I don't think it's even guaranteed to exist. Could be a anonymous user. So that's the thing. That's the key point. If it's how about if I do this? Or if not authenticated, return (403) or something. I don't know what the response will be. Let's see what Copilot thinks about it. I've had a recent situation where should I use ChatGPT that went well. I was competing in a capture the flag, and the task was to reverse engineer a custom compression algorithm. The code was written intentionally bad to make it more difficult. We used GPT to tell us what certain aspects we're doing where we didn't understand. That's good use of that. If not, 1 second. Return. Okay. Return to login. Great. Now I've added yet another code path. But yeah, you shouldn't be making post requests. I think I've already covered that, to be honest. I've already covered that in the templates somewhere. somewhere. Yeah, so that's another example. Let me get back to your point exactly, is like if I don't understand what something's doing, like what is this line doing here that I just wrote? I like having it right in my IDE, even not having a tab over to GPT-4. Here's the explanation for the code above. Here we are checking if the user is authenticated or not. If not, then we are redirecting the user to the login page. Granted, this is an idiomatic Django, and Python in general it encourages readability. But yeah, I see exactly what you're saying, the usefulness of that, especially on intentionally obfuscated code or something you wrote 6 months ago and not even sure what you were doing back then or what you're thinking or if it behaves correctly. I don't want to add another code path here. I do see some ambiguity here, whether or not this user is logged in. I think I handled that in the subscription index page. Let me double check this. I think I, in fact, I'm trying to think if I should actually just leave that in there though. I'll come right back to it. Let me hop over here, and I need to have a quick potty break. But here, so yeah, login required. So what I'm doing here on the subscription index page is I've got a conditional. If they're authenticated, then I'll show the registration form. Shoot. Probably I should be moving all of this to the view. And I'm not even sure I was in the right mind when I wrote this. I don't know, I'm just kidding, but yeah, we write code and then come back to it, we're like, what was I thinking? Does that even make sense? All right, so let me dig more into this while we're writing these tests, and I just need to take a quick break. I'll be right back. And yeah, let me know more about your thoughts on the general pragmatic issues surrounding GPT. Large language models in general, as Copilot, I think is GPT powered, but there's others coming up, like Anthropic has Claude, Google has Bard. There's a bunch of them that are being developed, even open source LLMs, like Stability AI has the Stable Diffusion, and I keep forgetting the name of that startup who's making, not OpenAI, but another one who's promoting open source and smaller model development. Anyway, yeah, what are your thoughts on the broader spectrum of these large language models, including some of the implications they have on work, jobs, security, and other aspects that we should be concerned at a societal level? I'm very interested to learn more about what you think there. I'll be right back. All right, thanks for your patience. All refreshed. Now, yeah, I think so let me just read this in plain language. If they're not authenticated, right? I always get confused by Boolean operators if they are not authenticated. They shouldn't even be submitting this registration form. Yo. No, they should. There's a registration form. Should I redirect them to the registration? It's another thing. Allow them to register for the site. Okay, they're either logging in or registering. Got it. I understand now. Otherwise, they are authenticated and they are seeing a submission form. This is just not reflected in my sort of the view thing. In other words, I don't need to redirect them here. That's already handled. Yo, so there will be a user. It will be an abstract-based user. It just so happens it inherits our custom user model, which is making it a bit challenging. Man, where's user coming from? User, hello. There we are. Yes, abstract-based user. Where's abstract-based user? Django, contrib, base user. All right. Django, contrib. Abstract-based user. It should be okay. It should be a safe little thing to do. Unknown import. There we are, base user. What is that little scrappy little startup? Hugging face. Tell me that scrappy little AI startup that builds those open source models. Stability AI is the one I mentioned earlier. Gosh darn it, why do I always forget these? Runway ML is maybe a good one to check out. I think they have a sort of a course, free course to take on how these models are built. Build the AI, open AI, the semi-open, increasingly closed AI startup. Gosh, well, maybe I'll remember this later. I guess they're just not as popular. LMSys. Anyway, that's a little bit far afield from what I'm trying to achieve here, although I am increasingly orienting myself towards these models to see how I can engage with them in a way that sort of benefits the people and projects where I'm involved. Good. All right, so let's rerun that test. I think I've copied and pasted everything with the invalid form this time. I'm just checking my code. I got a little bit sidetracked and took a break. In my test, in my model, in fact, the view form. Oh, now it's got lots of squiggles. I'm gonna add myself a note. But my pi doesn't know that. Now, in fairness, I'm checking in the template, but it is not guaranteed. So somebody can literally send a post request to this URL. So actually I do need to check that. All right. Just putting it in there now. It's gonna go, I'm gonna leave it, and that's that. Wow though, hey, look at this. That's different. And it knows the redirect back to here. That's cool. This is part of our implementation so that when people do authenticate, they'll come back to the subscription flow. They won't be like just thrown into a registration form and then user registration form and then like, what do I do now? They'll come back after logging in. After logging in, they will be sent back. Yeah, let me just double check that that's the correct view name, which I believe it is. Nope, nope. But we do use the next. So I think it's under accounts. So this is interesting about the non-determinism of these models. You sort of get different results, even probably with the same input, you'll get a different output. But certainly just jiggling and fiddling with things, sometimes you get a better result. Where's the accounts? URLs. Problem is, I don't know the Well, let's test that first then. Did you win the CTF, by the way, or how did you place? Context. So the invalid form test worked. Let's commit that before we get too much further down the line. Just making sure it works with all these new assertions. 200 error response. It is an instance of subscription and it is false. It is not valid. I think I'm missing the scroll. Just double checking over here the multi-stream chat. These tests pass, and I'm pretty sure they did right here. I just have lost the thread. I will commit, and we'll continue on with our slight refactor. And an additional test case. I think that's going to give us the coverage we need. And a slight improvement. I believe this was a good move, given that somebody can make a post request to an arbitrary path in Wagtail and Django, and basically all my template was doing was handling GET requests and rendering the right form. View is responsible for redirecting, so that was a good move. Tests are dang slow. Dang it. Good. Okay, so let's commit. And essentially we've got just a couple of annotation improvements, but the main bulk of it is add this. And it's a little bit long, I understand. Some long line of code. All right, so I'm gonna use Copilot here. I'm gonna prompt Copilot. Test redirected unauthenticated. Something like that. Okay, and then we get a redirect, and it redirects us to let's make an assertion that it redirects us to the login page. Get reverse. To the login page. Count to login. Yeah. Yeah, and it's... Oh, come on. I hate that. If my mouse is sweeping over the thing, don't pop up a freaking hover prompt. With this implementation, you know what? I did a silly. Didn't read the line right above it. So we're already kind of safe to that, impervious to that. But this is actually kind of interesting. There we are. Well, I believe the super serve request is probably correct. Maybe I don't want to cloud this up until it becomes an issue. I think it's okay. So basically, if we're getting an unauthenticated post request, right? Not. Let's confuse ourselves. Alright, let's run that test again. This time I'm gonna keep DB. Forgot my... No QA here. And this line, maybe the no QA there works. I don't know. With the tuple outside of the tuple, let's find out. All right, now rerun it with keep DB. Control CL up. Very interesting. These tests are coming together. I think I can ignore this. It's just so flaky. I don't think we need this explicit. This needs to be a post. I need to rewrite that. Let it finish. Check our 0.18. Project code change. Is that less? Previously it was, it's still 5.60. Okay, weird. 5 hours ago, but edited 47 minutes ago with the last push. Wow, this is taking a long time. Fail. All right. I just changed it. 200, hey. Let's rerun it now that I've changed it. Error. All right, that's better. How about this? User is anonymous. Equals. Yeah, that was correct. I can put this one back. Ah, what? That is good to know. But sometimes the WSGI request that has no user. I don't need this anymore. Simplifies that. That's what I was thinking. The reverse match wouldn't be found. Okay. What I did notice earlier was that accounts login came up. Otherwise, I can just search for this. Well, one thing I can ask is, I can ask Copilot here. Accounts login, yeah. Accounts is not a registered namespace. Yeah. Go to my main URLs, or core. We're including them. Then we'll give them a namespace, I guess. or just hard code it. That's more like it anyway, because we needed the next argument. Okay. But the redirect won't work. Ah, man. This is bad. This is poor style. I have using two namespaces, or two account includes. Oh, setting up your authentication view URLs. They do it here without any namespace. Well, okay then. It's not very good. I'm not proud of it. Yes. Now, whether or not that works, in other words, maps to an actual URL or view. Another question. Localhost 8,000. There we go. So I got accounts login, right? Yes, it's good. It's good. Next row. So that's correct. Oh man, this is correct. The login button has it. The login button has it. I would like to do this properly. So my core templates. I'm getting tired. I'd like to go for a walk. Heading. Navbar, navbar. It's just login. I like it. I like that simplicity. That is simplicity. Oh man, I'm getting disoriented. close this. I'm not using that. I'm gonna just kind of close it, and I'm not using these URLs because that didn't have any namespace. Login. Login. Where is it? Authenticated valid form. Unauthenticated user. That should be reverse. Well, I mean, it's okay. And we'll use that. So it's a bit cleaner. In our model. Login. Base URL. See if that test still passes, and I can delete this. Added a small, I think, improvement. Perhaps I just did all that for nothing, but okay, it's there anyway. No. Run the tests, dang you. And then with this, I'm gonna call it good. I'm a bit tired. Let's see what our test coverage does in response to these new tests. Yeah, I think that's improvement in the behavior of that page. Essentially, when I go to subscribe is what we're doing. To the magazine, I don't have the server running. We'll push these changes up real quick while I'm running the server. If it can do two things at once, indeed, I'm not sure that this can. There it went. That'll re-trigger our CI pipeline. Then I can look at the subscribe page, and since I'm an anonymous user, I see this. I'm not going to go to the effort of making the post request. I've done that in a test, but yeah, this is what we're simulating. We're just ensuring that somebody can't make an arbitrary post request to this endpoint and get some kind of unexpected result there. Little extra layer of safety. Wow, very cool. So I'm going to wrap it up now. Thanks, Gun Go Pews, for stopping by. It's nice to chat with people while I'm working through these little bit challenging issues. But with the help of people in the chat and ChatGPT and Google Copilot, I think the work is getting easier. It's more entertaining with the chat participants and more informative as a result of the chat participants, as well as the ChatGPT and Copilot. Overall, it's an improved developer experience, you could say. All right. So thanks for stopping by the live stream. Let me know your thoughts out there if there's any other suggestions or what your experiences are with these coding tools. I'm curious, not only at a pragmatic level, but also interested in how we develop these at an ethical and societal level, how they serve our human needs and promote equity and other values that we're striving towards. All right, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by the stream, and have a great day.